Welcome back to the Adventure Diaries, the podcast where we dive deep into all things adventure, exploration, and pushing the limits of what's possible. I'm your host, Jack.
And I'm Emma. We've got a thrilling episode for you today, all about the adventures that take us beyond the map and into uncharted territories, both literally and figuratively.
That's right. We'll be talking about the biggest adventures in life, from exploring wild jungles to the personal journeys we embark on every day. So, Emma, let's start with a fun question. What's been your most unforgettable adventure so far?
Ooh, that's a tough one. But if I had to choose, I'd say it was my solo backpacking trip through Patagonia. It was the first time I truly felt alone with nature, surrounded by glacier, mountains, and silence. There was this one moment, standing at the base of Mount Fitzroy, where I just stopped. Everything was so vast, and I felt so small, but so connected at the same time. How about you, Jack?
Please like the video to reach another person like you who wants to learn English, and subscribe and click on bell icon to do not miss the latest uploaded video notifications.
Patagonia, huh? That's amazing. For me, it has to be when I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro last year. It was grueling cold, high altitude, and every step felt like it took forever. But reaching the summit at sunrise? The view was like standing at the edge of the world. It felt like I could see eternity.
That sounds incredible. I've always wanted to hike Kilimanjaro. There's something so primal about climbing mountains, isn't there? It's like you're battling both the environment and yourself.
Exactly. It's more of a mental challenge than a physical one. Speaking of mental challenges, what do you think has been the biggest adventure in your personal life?
Oh, wow. That's deep. Laughs, honestly, I think my biggest personal adventure has been learning how to be okay with uncertainty. I've always been a planner, you know. I like having a roadmap for everything. But when I quit my corporate job to pursue writing full-time, I had no idea what was ahead. It was terrifying, but it's been the most rewarding journey.
That's brave, Emma. I think a lot of people are afraid of taking that leap into the unknown. For me, starting this podcast with you was my personal adventure. I'd never done anything like it before, and it felt like I was stepping into uncharted waters. But here we are, and it's been one of the best decisions I've ever made.
Oh, that's awesome to hear. It's definitely been a wild ride, but I think we've created something special here. Speaking of creating, let's talk about adventurers throughout history. Do you have a favorite explorer or adventurer who inspires you?
Oh, for sure. Sir Ernest Shackleton, hands down. His expedition to Antarctica on the Endurance is legendary. The ship got trapped in ice, and they were stranded for almost 2 years. But Shackleton's leadership kept the crew alive, and they all made it home. That story just blows my mind.
Shackleton was a true legend. I'd say one of my favorites is Amelia Earhart. She wasn't just an adventurer, but a trailblazer. She defied all the odds and shattered expectations, especially for women at that time. Her disappearance adds this element of mystery to her story, which makes it even more fascinating.
Yes. Amelia Earhart was a pioneer in every sense of the word. And I love how both of these adventurers didn't let fear stop them. Speaking of fear, Emma, what's something you've been afraid to do but still went for it?
Oh, definitely skydiving. I am terrified of heights. The idea of jumping out of a perfectly good plane made my heart race, but I knew I had to do it. And honestly, the moment I stepped off the edge and felt that rush of air, there's nothing like it. It was pure freedom.
That's intense. I'm not sure I'd have the guts to skydive, but I'd love to try it one day. I think for me, it was learning to scuba dive. The thought of being underwater, where you can't just breathe normally, freaked me out. But once I got the hang of it, being in the ocean felt like another world, entirely silent, vast, and teeming with life.
Underwater adventures are definitely a whole different world. So, for anyone listening who might be thinking about starting their own adventure, whether it's travel, a new career, or a personal challenge, what advice would you give them?
I'd say, don't wait for the perfect moment. There's no such thing. Start now, even if you're scared, even if you don't feel ready. The adventure begins the moment you take that first step.
Absolutely. And embrace the uncertainty. Adventures aren't about having everything figured out. They are about discovery, and sometimes that means discovering things about yourself that you didn't expect.
Well said, Emma. And that brings us to the end of today's episode of the Adventure Diaries. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, the greatest adventure is the one you haven't taken yet.
We'll see you next time, adventurers. Keep exploring and stay curious.
Hey, Emma, how about a Kilimanjaro Pagonia combo trip next year?
You on.